Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Series 6 of Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours aims to record 1,000 loiners, that's people from Leeds, over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and tell me about what they do and let me record how this decade affects us. These are long-form interviews meant to challenge the short attention span content economy. That means they aren't always easy listening, but in my view, they are all worth listening to. They all tell us something about our guest, our city, and our time, not to mention something of what it's like to do that job and how someone got into that job. You're helping this project right now by being a listener, and I'd love for you to consider becoming a guest or a supporter of this project. Thank you for listening to this episode. What did you want to be when you grew up?
So this is a really interesting question because when I was very young, under the age of 5, I got very ill and I was in a hospital and they didn't think I would make it. It was, bringing a priest in, saying funeral rites, that kind of that is how bad it was.
Yeah.
And I was saved by a doctor. My dad mainly fought for me to see this doctor because he just didn't want to believe that I would die. And thanks to my dad fighting my corner, as a parent should do, and that doctor, I was actually saved, obviously, because I'm here today, I'm alive. And so ever since then, I have said that I wanted to be a doctor. So that was my sort of dream from when I was, 5 years old up until I was 18 years old. I was absolutely adamant that I would be becoming a doctor.
You're listening to Series 6, Episode 17, and to my guest, Candice Waldie. This is another Squadcast recorded on the 19th of February 2025. Hello, colleagues. Candice Waldie is the owner of Recovering My Balance. She's an experienced mental health and wellbeing professional with over 6 years of extensive experience in mental health training. Candice has lived experience of C-PTSD, that's complex PTSD, anxiety and depressive disorder, and was diagnosed with autism. She is adept at delivering high-quality training courses and fostering a positive learning environment. She's also currently studying to be a therapeutic coach, and she's volunteering as a Region of Learning ambassador for West Yorkshire Combined Authority. Right, let's do this. Episode 172 of Working Hours with Candice Waldie. What are you doing now then?
So at the moment, I run my own business. It's called Recovering My Balance. So it's about recovering from mental ill health and the journey that I've been on. So I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about my journey through C-PTSD and anxiety and depressive disorder, and learning about myself and trying to cope in the world in the last 2 years. And the issue that I found when I was going through the recovery journey was firstly, it wasn't very neurodivergent friendly, so it didn't really take into account my autism or my ADHD. And secondly, there is a lot of guidance out there, a lot of websites, things like that. But when you actually go to your doctor, they just kind of diagnose you, and then they refer you for therapy, and that's it really. And they maybe give you like a website as a reference, and then you're kind of expected to go and find information out for yourself. And that's really hard for a person to do, especially when you're struggling with your mental health. It's exceptionally difficult. And so I did a lot of research, I did a lot of work in that direction, and found out a lot of stuff that was essential in my recovery process, but is something that most people would not be able to find unless they were like me, a autistic obsessive person who literally, you know, my best friend says that, you know, mental health is my life. Like, it's taken over my life. Like, that's all I talk about. And that's because it's a special interest of mine. And if it wasn't a special interest of mine, I wouldn't have found out all the things that I found out. And as a result of that, I was able, you know, I am able to live a good life despite the fact that I have all these things going on with me. And I'm very happy now. I, you know, really enjoy my life. Whereas 2 years ago, that was not the case. It was the opposite.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's what my business is about. It's about trying to educate people on the things that they need to be looking for, resources that they need to be going to in order to recover to the best of their ability. But it's also about educating people, doing psychoeducation about mental health. So I do mental health first aid training courses, I do workshops on mental health, and then, like I said, I've got my YouTube channel which talks through the recovery process, and I even read through some of my journal entries so people can see what I was saying about myself, and then what my reflection is about it now on my journey of recovery, of where I was and how things are now.
So I we'll tease out a bit more of what that means in a minute. But before we sort of go into that, I'm going to jump into my next question straight away and sort of look at how we got there. So how did you get into it?
So I, because of my ADHD, I've always jumped from job to job. I've never been able to stay in a job longer than around 2 years, up to 4 years. It's usually the longest I can stay in a job before I have to change. Because I've always wanted to work. Like, that was something I was always passionate about. I always wanted to be independent, always wanted to work. But I always had to find my work enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so there were two things my work had to do. It had to be enjoyable, but it also had to help others. So those were the two key things that I always made sure that I tried to do as much as I could. Initially, obviously, the helping others was much more difficult because I was limited to my experience and what jobs I could get. But I've been a waitress, a manager of a restaurant, a qualified chef. I've been trained as a qualified chef. I've been a carer, so I've lived in people's homes and cared for people with Alzheimer's, cancer, things like that. I've been a tour guide at the Museum of London. I've studied to be a crime scene scientist, and then got a master's in forensic osteology and did some research on skeletons.
Yeah.
And then I went and worked for St. John Ambulance as a first aid trainer, and I trained first aid courses and mental health first aid. And then I decided that, well, it was actually COVID that really sort of highlighted things for me as to what I'm really passionate about and what I really wanted to go into. And so that's where I started to go more into the mental health and wellbeing side of things. And and so then I decided I wanted to start my own business because I want to be able to be more in that area, and have more freedom to do what I want to do, but also to be able to adapt to my autism and my ADHD and work with that rather than working against it, which I did most of my life. So, I'm 41 years old, and my entire life was ignoring my autism and pretending it didn't exist. And I came across a lot of accommodations as I went through my life, like naturally, that I didn't realize were actually accommodating my autism and my ADHD. But now that I'm aware that I have autism and I've been diagnosed with it, and ADHD, I am making a concerted effort to not ignore it and to be like, okay, this is part of who I am. It's made me exceptional in the study of mental health, because I wouldn't have obsessed about mental health so much if I didn't have autism and ADHD. So those skills have really helped me to learn a lot in life, to experience a lot of really cool things, and to have a way of thinking that is very neuroplastic. So I'm very like open-minded. When I meet people, I don't judge them. I am very accepting. I'm a very gullible person, but I embrace that because I feel like that's important to take people at face value. So, there's lots of good things that my ADHD and my autism have brought to me, and my mental health has made me much more compassionate and empathetic towards other people and stuff like that. So, yeah, and COVID just kind of really highlighted that, because when COVID happened, I was still working for St. John Ambulance, and there was no sort of plan of what do we do if we have a pandemic? Like,
Yeah.
nobody had a plan for that. Not even, not even the government. So it was about sitting with my manager and going, right, what are we going to do to look after people's mental health? How are we going to support staff? Like, oh, what can we do? And so I built a whole well-being sort of structure during COVID, where I created wellbeing sessions, and I talked through people through the redundancies that we had during COVID, because obviously charity reliant on donations. COVID happens, donations stop, and so yeah, things happen. And so I used the wellbeing process to help through people through the redundancy process, and just to look after their mental health. I knew that there were a lot of staff members who did not have anybody. They were living alone. And I know that loneliness and isolation is a high risk for suicide. And so I really made an active point of trying to engage them in sessions and things like that, and activities. We had like murder mystery evenings. We had games, people sharing their crafts, their hobbies. One girl taught us about runes, because she was really interested in runes and Wiccanism and all of that sort of stuff. So she taught us about that. Another person is an aqua aerobics instructor, and so she did like a aerobic session with us, and so we did lots of different like fun activities, but we also had serious conversations about the current circumstances, what they were doing to help them cope, what well-being processes that they have in place that would make them more resilient. What would they do if worst case scenario happened and they were made redundant? What was their plan? And things like that. And through doing that, I was able to help them feel more supported and less alone. And we had an absolute blast. And I was doing that while I was still working full time. Most of the staff were on furlough, but I was not one of those staff members. I was on boots on the ground during COVID. The whole time, and I was doing this in my own free time while I was working. full time. So it was a lot. It was a lot. It took a big toll on me mentally, but it was what I needed to do in that circumstance. And that is one of the most amazing things I think about autism and ADHD, is the fact that when serious situations like that happen, when disaster strikes, we are the best people to have in your corner, because we're able to just cut off those emotions and just deal with the situation and manage it and cope and help everybody else. And then it's only after things have calmed down that our emotions then come flooding back and completely.
Yeah, stop you doing anything
Yeah.
then. Oh God.
Yeah, when the crisis is over, that's when we have our breakdowns. So yeah, if I wasn't autistic, if I didn't have ADHD, I would not have been able to do what I did in that situation. And I know that for a fact. Because me and my dad had a discussion about it. And I said to him, I'm going to keep working during COVID. And I said, this was at the beginning stages where we didn't know much about it. And I said, well, it could kill me because I have asthma. I said, and I could bring it home and it could kill you. And I said to him, you need to go and stay with my sister so that, I can then work and not worry about you. And my dad was like, no. I'm staying. If I die, I die. I'm old anyway, so he's like, well, but he's like, I'm not leaving you alone. And the thing is, my dad's autistic as well. So my dad's autistic and has ADHD as well, and I don't think he would have done that if he wasn't. And so he was willing to risk his own life to support me, so that I could then risk my life supporting others. But that's just how we are. That's just naturally how my family is. We're very much about helping people, and we a lot of times we'll do it at the expense of ourselves, which is not a healthy way to do things, which we are all learning. But it hasn't stopped us from helping people. It's just changed the way that we treat ourselves when we're doing that. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, it's great. There's a lot of stuff that I could pull out there, but let's stick to the sort of most salient points, I guess, for the listener. So going back to the doctor, you said that changed at 18, and also within that context, obviously this business is fairly new coming out of COVID. Now we'll go on to COVID, but what changed at kind of 18 to sort of derail you from your doctor dream?
Well, there were a few factors. So I'm originally from South Africa, and my family was did not have the money to send me to education, let's put it that way. There were, months which would go by where we would only have bread and milk in the fridge, and that was it. And that had to sustain us. My dad had to send me to my friends' houses to eat food. Like, things were pretty bad financially for us for a while. So there was just no way that my parents could pay for university. Like, it just wasn't going to happen for me. And I had to be realistic and go, well, this is the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I got a scholarship. And because of my ADHD, and the school system and how it's designed, and it's not designed for people with ADHD, I was just no way I was getting those grades. So I had to be realistic. And I think that's also one of the things about my autism, is that I'm able to do that. I was able to do that from a very young age, be just really logical and realistic about situations, and just like push my emotions aside. And I said to myself, well, I can't afford to do it. So it is what it is. And so I just need to find a different way. And So yeah, so I started a job as a waitress, and then built myself up to an assistant manager of a restaurant. My school that I was in was like an academy school, so they trained me in hospitality studies and trained me as a qualified chef. But I decided I didn't want to be a professional chef because I didn't like the environment.
Mm.
It wasn't conducive to. Um, it's not a good environment to be
It's
in.
very
It's
shouty and rushed and hot and loud
yeah, and
and
aggressive and swearing
and
and it's not
shiny and
conducive.
on fire and
Yeah,
sharp implement.
well-being is not a factor in those kinds of environments. And for somebody who's very accident prone like me,
Mm.
you know, it's not always safe.
No, no.
So yes, I was very realistic with myself and said, well, um, so yeah, I went to Dubai when I was 18
Mm.
for a year and a half and worked there in a water park,
Mm.
as one of those characters that dances in the costumes, and yeah, had fun with that for a year and a half, and then because of that opportunity, I had the money to then be able to travel to the UK,
Mhm.
and yeah, and make a new life here, basically. So I moved here when I was 21,
Mm.
um, and so yeah, so now I'm 42,
Mm.
and
Half your
or
life ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So did you come to Leeds? Like, how did you end up in Leeds? Because I'm guessing you didn't come straight here. I'm guessing you went to London.
So I actually went to Scotland
Oh,
first.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Scotland, worked there for a couple of months, but the workplace where I was working, the conditions were very bad. So I left there and moved to south of England. And I lived with my cousin for about a month.
Mm.
And then I found a job as a carer, because I actually went with my aunt to an interview to become a carer because
Mm.
she wasn't very sure about traveling with public transport, and I was really good at that, figuring that kind of stuff out. So I went with her to the interview, and yeah, and then they ended up hiring me as well. Because my lady was like, "Do you have a job?" And I was like, "No, I'm busy, I'm busy looking for work." And she was like, "Well, how about you come and work for us?" I was like, "Okay." And so yeah, that's how I got that job, and I did that job for 3.5 years, 3.5 to 4 years.
Mm.
Loved it. Loved looking after the people looked after. I looked a lot after a lot of people who were born and raised through World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So really fascinating stories. I
Mm.
absolutely loved that job.
Mm.
I loved it so much. The stories that I got told, the mischief that they got up to, it was amazing. Yeah, I never thought I would have an experience like that, and then obviously we did. Very
Mm.
different experience, but yeah, than COVID, but definitely something different. And Yeah, so then I well, my brother actually had a conversation with me while I was a carer towards the later years,
Mm.
and said that he was very concerned about me, that I'd changed a lot, um, kind of like the light had gone out within me.
Yeah, it's the I think there's a couple of things in it. I think it's the sort of the grind and all of the politics and the budgets and the wages and cuts and hours and all of the work side. But it's also the care, like the work of care. Like you can do it so long and you can output it so long, but you need refreshment. You need to revitalize yourself. You can't just give, 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 give. It's a recipe for
Yeah,
yeah disaster
yeah,
for you
and
essentially.
yeah, and I'm a very empathetic person,
Mm.
so I take on people's emotions as my own.
Mm.
This is something I've learned to like manage through my recovery process, is learning to not learning to help others, but not taking it on myself.
Yeah.
You know, all the hardships and stuff on myself, and letting that drain me and cause fatigue and things like that. So, so it just took everything out of me, because it was a 24/7 job. You know, I was a living carer. So, you know, I had, you know, I would have like a morning break for like 15 minutes, a lunch break for half an hour, and then late afternoon break for 15 minutes. But usually I'd be in a place where I couldn't travel anywhere, so my break was in the environment that I was in.
Yes,
So it
so it's
wasn't
not a
really
break.
break,
Yeah.
And then some clients would wake up during the night as well, so you'd have disrupted sleep and stuff like that, and you know, it's 7 days a week kind of thing. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't regret doing it. I loved the job, but it got to a stage where I just couldn't handle it anymore.
And you have to deal with resentment as well, as much as you like want to or don't want to. It's a factor when you losing sleep, your health's being damaged from giving care. Like, it's financially not that beneficial for you, and you're kind of like, my life would be easier if these people weren't a problem, and it takes a toll. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then after that, I decided to leave my care job and decided to go to university. And I studied a crime scene science degree because I wanted to be a CSI. Uh, and then while I was doing that, I realized that I had much more of an interest in like people, because I've always just been interested in people. And so I then spoke to my course leader, and then they suggested that I spoke to a forensic osteologist. And after having a discussion with them, I realized that actually that was what I wanted to go into. And so I studied that.
What was that called again? Sorry.
So, forensic osteologist.
Osteologist.
Yeah, so study of human bones.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I found that really fascinating and interesting, and I studied that, and then I got a volunteer position at the Museum of London when I finished my osteology degree. And the reason why I got that role was because it would then give me access to their skeleton collection, so that I could research the skeletons. So I spent a year researching skeletons and volunteering, and then I got the opportunity to get an actual job with them, not as an osteologist, but as a tour guide. And so I did that, tried to get into the osteology industry, but
The osteology
just,
industry. I bet
yeah,
that's
it was,
quite cliquey. Is it quite cliquey?
um,
Or should you not say
yes.
either way?
Yes, it is. It is definitely about who you know,
Yeah.
but it's also about, it's not. There aren't a lot of opportunities in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's a very niche
Yeah.
kind of industry, and so yeah, and there's a lot of people studying it.
Yeah.
So there's just way too many people for the number of jobs that are available in that, and yeah, and so as part of my job at the museum, I went for a first aid course, and I was speaking to the first aid trainer, and I was saying, you know, you must love your job. It's an amazing job teaching people to save lives. I think that's such a cool job. And he was like, well, actually, we are recruiting. And I was like, oh, but I don't have
Your
any like
timing is
ambulance
amazing.
experience, anything like that, you know. I'm not an ambulance person, you know. Like, I don't have medical stuff. And he was like, you don't need to know that, you know. To be a first aid trainer, you don't need to have those qualifications. You just need to know first aid, and you need to be, you know, have a teaching like get a teaching degree, basically, which they pay for. So they get for you, in the sense of you do the work, obviously, to get the certificate, but they pay for it, they fund it. So after that conversation with that guy, 2 weeks later, I had a job with St. John Ambulance, and and worked with them for 6 years.
So, are you still undiagnosed at this point?
Yeah, so I only got diagnosed with mental ill health. I knew, like, when I was at the museum, I knew that I had anxiety and depression. That was because I had a lot of physical issues going on. So people would look at me at the museum and they would say, Candice, you look like you're going to die. Like, they would ask me if they needed to call an ambulance for me. Like, I had really bad chest issues, like infections and stuff like that. I was very fatigued, very ill. I had vertigo, so my, like, I was like, I had, what's that, like, rash that you get, like part of chicken pox, shingles, yes. And like, I was just in a really bad physical state.
Yeah.
And at that point, my mom had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And this had been going on for, a couple of months. And I was going to visit her, and she was really concerned about my health. And so she made an appointment with a ear, throat and nose specialist, because when I had issues when I was younger, a lot of those issues were as a result of my ears. So I had a lot of infections, and I had to have an operation on my ears and all sorts of stuff. And so she thought maybe the vertigo and stuff like that was due to that. And so she insisted that I go. And so she made an appointment for me to go. And when I visited her, I went, and it was the ear, throat and nose specialist that said to me, this is not an issue with a medical, like in the sense of a medical issue.
Yeah.
He said, this is, a panic attack. Like, what you're having, these are all signs and symptoms of panic attacks. He said, and hyperventilation. And he says, you're just constantly having panic attacks and hyperventilation. And he says, you need to go and talk to your doctor.
Yeah, that's not a physical trigger. There's an emotional trigger to that you need to go and find what it is. Yeah,
that's causing all the physical stuff. And so, me being me, and thinking I can solve all my problems
with the power of books and research.
Yeah, in my full wisdom. So I did loads of research and found out there were panic attacks, and then like tried to sort of cope with it myself for a couple of years. But then obviously COVID happened, things got escalated, and after COVID, things came back with a vengeance. And a few things happened in my life as well, which were quite traumatic. And so I got to a point where I just a trigger warning here, where I walked into my house the one day, and I was in a state because my friend hadn't messaged me back. And I lost it, like, in the sense of my brain just like I started screaming inside my head at myself, and just said, nobody cares about you, you'd be better off dead. You might as well just kill yourself right now. And when that happened, it was so aggressive and violent that it just shocked me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Where did that come from?
where did that come
Yeah.
from? Because before then, I'd had issues, but I'd never had like suicidal thoughts or anything like that at that stage. But the the thing about your brain is that when you have thoughts that are upsetting and you're a traumatized person, your brain is a really wonderful way of kind of forgetting those thoughts and hiding those memories and things like that from you.
Mm.
And actually, when I went for my trauma therapy, I had forgotten that I'd actually been suicidal when I was a teenager, and I'd actually planned my suicide like to the detail. Like I'd planned everything, and the only reason why I didn't do it was because of my empathy for others. I just couldn't do that to other people.
To someone else, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You know, the I think in a way that's a good thing because it stopped me from doing that. But yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Mm.
And yeah, so it's not obviously the first time I've been suicidal, but it was the first time I recognized that I was suicidal and realized something needed to change drastically. So yeah, so I made an emergency phone call to the doctor and got an emergency appointment and got diagnosed. At that point, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And yeah, they gave me tablets, and that was, and they referred me for therapy, and that was it.
I was going to say, was it pursued or you had to push it?
So I went to the doctor and said I have anxiety and depression because these are the signs and symptoms I have. They were like, "Yeah, we agree with you. This is what you've got." They then, you know, happily referred me for therapy, but it was via the NHS, so I had to wait 6 months to actually receive the therapy. And in the meantime, all they did was they gave me tablets for depression. I can't take anxiety tablets because of my asthma. So they gave me tablets for my depression. And then that was it. They left me alone and I
Did
to
you get a
fend for
leaflet?
myself.
A little leaflet? They normally give you a leaflet.
No, all they said was they didn't actually refer me. They told me to refer myself because the doctor said to me, if they refer me, it will take 3 months longer, the referral. So the doctor said to me, they can refer me, but it would take 3 months longer than if I did it myself. So you're talking to somebody who's got, you know, severe depression and anxiety, and now I myself have to refer myself and go through the whole referral process to mental health services just so that I don't have to wait 3 months extra to see a professional
Because
for
there'll be
therapy.
some triage calculation somewhere of probability is they're already in the system, they'll probably be fine. This is someone new coming in, nobody's seen them yet, let's get them done quick. Do you know that kind of calculation of like, this makes sense to someone who's
Yeah,
not anywhere near any of the stuff that's happening? It's like it's
yeah,
just a
yeah.
calculation on a piece of paper.
Yeah, yeah. And what I didn't realize at the time was that these are all like all the signs and symptoms of the anxiety and the depression and a lot of the trauma as well. That was all related to my autism and my ADHD. But because I didn't know that I had autism or ADHD, I was then not able to see, oh, okay, I'm getting anxious because I'm getting overstimulated by noise. And so I need to wear earplugs. You know, I need to wear headphones and play music to chill out my nervous system so that I can then deal with the situation without it negatively impacting me. So things like that. And it is very common that women get misdiagnosed with mental ill health instead of actually it being recognized that they have autism or ADHD, and that's actually what's the issue is. And then as soon as they, you know, find that out and they're able then to put tools in place, the anxiety and depression pretty much go away. It's still there, it still has its moments, but it's, you know, nowhere near where it was.
And you know, and
Um,
if you can get that earlier intervention, I mean, like if you can identify it earlier, you get rid of a lot of that trauma, because you know it's exactly what you've said there, isn't it? Of like, if I'd known, I would have dealt with all of these things that would cause me further problems in a different way, and they wouldn't have caused. I mean, they may still have caused you problems, but not to the degree that you later are like, that didn't need to be that hard.
yeah, and then
And
it
the other
got
thing as well
worse.
is you're running out
Yeah,
of, as you get older, you've done more stuff, you've got coping mechanisms, but they start to wear out, sort of thing. They like, they get overwhelmed, and you get, there's too much going on, and you're kind of like, why does nothing work for me anymore? Like, why is it
yeah,
all wrong?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you bring a valid point there, because there's a lot of stuff in the news about like, oh, autism's on the increase. Why are all these people being, you know, diagnosed with ADHD and autism? Well, firstly, women weren't factored into ADHD, or, you know, or autism for many years. So, you know, it's not that they didn't exist; they were there all the time. Um,
They
they
also
just
didn't know
hadn't
what they
been
were looking for,
diagnosed.
did they? Because the
Exactly.
research was on a
Men.
group of white men.
Yeah,
Yeah, same
yeah.
white single men.
Yeah, so you know, there was that, but also it's you know, because when you're absolutely right, when you get to your sort of late 30s, early 40s, that is when your coping mechanisms on they fail you when you're autistic or have undiagnosed autism or ADHD, because at that time in your life, it's when everything kind of calms down. Like, you know, like the whole having children, getting a relationship, getting a job, having a career, all of those things start to like settle and calm down. And so then your autism and your ADHD have more space to express themselves, but then you don't understand what's being expressed, and you misunderstand that and think that it's, you know, anxiety or depression or things like that. Oh, I'm not getting dressed, I'm not, you know, like, why do I find it so hard to bath, like, why can't I brush my teeth, you know, um things like that. Like today I brushed my teeth because I knew I'm doing the interview. I haven't brushed my teeth for like the last 5 days, and the reason is not because I actively think I don't want to brush my teeth. It's because it literally doesn't enter my mind.
You forget, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
forgetting to eat. It's like, how do you forget to eat? It's like, well, you know,
yeah,
just do
yeah,
something for ages,
yeah,
and then you go, oh, hang on, I haven't eaten anything.
yeah.
Why do I feel
When I feel
tired?
dizzy.
And yeah, like, why am I
They're
really
like, oh,
angry?
why is the ground spinning? Or, you know, why am I getting frustrated in, you know, in this thing? And then it's like, oh, it's because I haven't eaten or drunken for the last 3 hours. But yeah, absolutely. You know, it's the simple day-to-day things that you just don't do for yourself. And then because you don't do that, that's then mistakenly associated with depression. Um, and then it builds up anxiety because you're like, why am I not doing these things? Like, why is this happening? And, you know, and it's just that lack of understanding. And
Why is this
then,
so hard for me? What's wrong with me? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And because things have settled down and you're less like worrying about everybody else and you're more sort of like able to focus on yourself, it then escalates that and makes it worse. That anxiety becomes worse, the depression becomes worse. And you know, yeah, so it's an accumulative thing. It's not that I haven't had autism my whole life. I've had autism my whole life, and I've been getting overstimulated my entire life, and I've had so many health issues as a result of that. It all showed itself in mental health issues and physical issues. And you know, my brother used to say to me on a regular basis, I don't know how you're alive, like you've got so many issues. He's like, how are you still standing? And I was like, I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. But here I am. I'm stubborn that way. And since I found out that I have autism and that I've got trauma and that I've got autism and that I've got ADHD, and I've put things in place to um, to deal with those things, and educated myself so that I notice when things are happening in the early stages, so that I can then do preventative measures to prevent the impact of that on me, so that I'm then better able to be in the world with other people and support the people around me without without destroying myself in the process. And that's what I was doing. I was destroying myself in the process of trying to fit in, trying to be normal, trying to be who everybody wanted me to be, instead of just being myself.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you hate to kind of wrap it up in that way where it sounds like a Disney film, but it's kind of it's that sort of being yourself thing. I think it
yes,
takes 30 or 40 years, because
it
you,
does.
you you don't know who you are, because there's you spend so much of your life being not who others want you to be necessarily, but what people have projected on you and told you about yourself, but also how that interacts with your own ego and your own, like, this is what I
Yeah,
am and what I want to be, and this is the true me, and people don't understand, and like, if only they
yeah,
could see. And but it's kind of like, no, it's none of that. It's think about the whole of think about how you've been. Like, how have you been through all of these years? That's who you are, or
yeah,
not. If that's making you ill and that's wrong, that's not who you are. If you're flourishing from that to a degree and it's not making you ill and depressed, then that is who you are, I think,
yeah,
is the
yeah.
conclusion
And
I'm sort of coming to.
yeah, no, absolutely. It just got worse and worse and worse. Eventually I had a massive sensory overload. Um, and yeah, I couldn't leave my house. Um, I was terrified to go outside. I wear earplugs, earphones, and I could still hear all the noise outside,
Mm,
like clearly, as if I had no earplugs or earphones. Because at the moment I'm wearing earplugs
yeah,
and I'm wearing my earphones. So if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't be able to sit here with you and have this interview.
yeah.
So I have a lot of sensory issues now that have like make my life very difficult.
Mm,
And the thing is that it's not that they suddenly appeared; it's that they've always been there,
mm,
and there was just like a slow build up, build up, build up, build up. And because I ignored my sensory issues for so long
mm,
and didn't teach myself the tools to cope with them, now I find myself in my 40s, not knowing how to deal with sensory issues and having my brother educate me, also another autistic person. He's not got ADHD, but he's got autism. And he's educating me on how to deal with sensory issues and sensory
mm,
overload and meltdowns and stuff like that, but whereas if I'd known I was autistic when I was a child,
mm,
I would have then been able to learn this stuff. And that's what, I do now with all the autistic kids that I work with. I tell them the tools that they
mm,
need, like I talk to them about like what tools do you have in place? How are you looking after yourself?
mm,
And then a lot of them, what they do is that they're like their own worst enemy. So they won't wear the tools that they're supposed, like they won't wear the earphones
mm.
because they, worried about what other people will
You
think
don't
and
want to
stuff like
stand out.
that.
You want to fit in. You don't want to signal,
Yeah,
especially when you're a
yeah.
kid.
Yeah, and so and I say to them, I'm like, well, you're going to suffer for it. You're going to
Mm,
suffer, and there's no point in suffering because, other people wear earphones in class,
mm,
and they're not autistic. They just wear earphones in class.
mm,
So you're not going to really stand out. You're just going to be somebody else wearing earphones in class.
mm,
And it's about like educating them, psycho educating them, and saying, I understand that you're afraid of how people are going to perceive you, but what's the most important in life is not how other people perceive you, it's how you perceive yourself and how you interact with the world. And once you figure that out and you are sure of who you are, you're confident in who you are as a person, and you know how you are willing to interact with the world, that is when you'll find really good friends. That's when you'll find the happiness. That's where won't hate your autism, which some of them have told me. It's about like educating yourself. Like psychoeducation is so important. And learning compassion. Like compassion is a very big thing. That is something that I've had to really work hard on. Is being compassionate with myself and being like, okay, like I had loads of plans for this week off that I've got, and I'm not doing any of them. And I've got to be compassionate with myself and go, okay, well, I had a really tough last 2 weeks. It was really tough for me. I almost didn't make it in the sense of like going to work. Like I almost had to like take time off work because I was struggling so much with my mental health and my sensory issues. But I went in, I did it, I used my coping strategies, I made it through. I knew I would have this week off. And so it's okay to give myself this week off and not do loads of stuff in this week and just be like, take it day by day and see how I get on.
Yeah, and it's about celebrating the wins as well, isn't it? I mean, it's it's terrible to use all this business talk and business logic sort of thing, but it's true as well. It's kind of, look, you've got to take the wins where you can get them, and
Yeah, exactly.
if you don't, that's not a failure. That's kind of like that's sort of, if this is my baseline, if this is like this is where I bottom out, then everything above there is good. It's
Yeah.
the way I'm thinking of it. So yeah.
Yeah. And you've got to know that baseline, right? You've got to, in order for you to understand where the baseline is, you need to get to know yourself and you need to understand yourself and your version of autism,
Yeah.
and how it comes out for you as an individual, because we're all individuals, so it comes out differently for different people. And same with the ADHD, and just like understanding, okay, when this happens, this is how I'm going to react in this situation. So what tools can I use to help me to have the reaction I want to have in this situation, or have it have less of an impact on me. So for instance, I love visiting my family. My ADHD loves people. It kind of sucks energy from people. Okay. But my autism is drained by being around people. So I've got these two conflicting parts of me, they are constantly fighting one another. And both, negatively impact each other in different ways, but can positively impact each other in different ways. And it's about understanding that you need to manage these two things. And so what I do is when I go visit my family, I have a couple of days off, so usually 2 days off before I go visit them, where I just do like stuff I enjoy doing and just really chill in my space, relax, do all my stuff. Okay. And just psychologically prepare myself for going there. So think, okay, how am I going to get there? What's my route? If something goes wrong, what alternative am I going to use? What tools am I going to take with me to use? How am I going to use them? Things like that. So that I usually do about a week before. And then the 2 days before, just relaxing and resting and just chilling out. Then I travel down, I deal with all that stuff. I have an awesome time around my family. I have so much fun. While I'm with my family, I will stop interacting with them at 8 o'clock in the evening. I will go into my bedroom and I will have what we call me time. So I'll put my earphones on. I will, do my stuff that I enjoy. I have my sensory stuff with me as well. So I will interact with my sensory things, my sensory objects. And I just really calm my nervous system down, chill myself out, and just really soothing my autism. And also like I'm gathering energy. That's what I'm doing. So that the next day I can then be fully present with my family members, and we can have a good time,
Yeah.
and I can enjoy it and they can enjoy it.
Yeah. And you
And
don't
then
have to lose your rag and scream at everyone and go, I hate you all.
but I never do that. I usually take it inward. So, like,
Yeah.
when I get frustrated, angry, stuff like that, I don't express it outwardly. I express it inwardly. So I start screaming at myself and things like that. Um, and yeah, ruminating thoughts, those kinds of things, having nightmares, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I need to like recharge my battery, and I understand that. And I also wear my earplugs when I'm around my family as well, because my brother especially can be very loud. Because obviously with autism, you're not always aware of tonal, tone and stuff like that. Especially my brother, he's very bad at that. So he can shout like really loudly, especially when he gets excited or frustrated. And
I'm
so
often
wearing my
told to shut up.
earplugs. So wearing my earplugs around him, he knows that I'm not wearing the earplugs because I don't want to listen to him. I can still hear him. I can
Yeah.
still have conversations with people, but it lowers things, the volume of everything. And so when he shouts, it like shouts like it sounds like he's just normally talking. Like it doesn't affect me negatively. And that's also for my PTSD as well. So that helps manage my PTSD signs and symptoms as well, because sudden noises will set me off and trigger me. So yeah, it's just about learning to work with it and being okay with these accommodations that you need to make, but also being in an environment of people who are supportive of that. So sometimes I'll get really excited when I'm around people, and I will lose concept of time because I'm enjoying myself. And so my dad will then go, okay, oh, Candice, it's 8 o'clock. You need to go do your stuff. So he reminds me, okay, it's time to stop now, and it's time to recharge that battery. And so that's what I do. And because I do that, my dad has started to do that. My brother has started to do that. And so the dynamic of our family has changed a lot. Where we used to have lots of arguments and heated conversations and get very upset with each other. Set each other off. We have really changed our dynamic, and so because now we all understand what's going on with each of us, and also how each of us stimulates ourselves. Like my
Yeah.
dad needs the TV on all the time,
Yeah.
and I used to moan at him and say, switch off the TV, you're wasting electricity. But I didn't realize he needed the TV on to help him
Think the
regulate.
background noise, and they're just, I need
Stimulate
that
his
to
brain,
feel.
his ADHD
Yeah.
brain, yeah, so that he could focus then on what he was doing with us. And so, yeah, and so it was finding out those things about each other and going, right, okay, that's what he does, that's what he needs. I need the opposite. I need to wear the earplugs and the earphones and have like a quiet environment.
Yeah.
My brother is the same. And so we'll spend time with each other with earphones and earplugs in and things like that. And we all have a wonderful time. We all have a great experience. And then after the 3 days, I travel back home, and then I usually have, at first it was 5 days of recovery. So I would have 5 days off where I would have to recover. I've managed to push that down to 2 days now with all the tools that I have in place. So now it's 2 days before I go visit. The 3 days of visiting is the maximum I can spend with them. And then 2 days afterwards, recovery time. And so that's how I cope, and it works. And so these are the things that I've had to learn through my own recognizance and doing lots of research and sitting on lots of conferences and learning about trauma, learning about ADHD, learning about autism, watching loads of videos, looking at loads of research and finding out how the brain and the body work with one another, and how if you have issues with your mental health, that then physically affects your body, but vice versa as well. So you need to be looking after your body. And so I found out about a lot of the issues that I had going on, physical issues, which I then sorted out, which then had a positive impact on my mental health, and so on. So, and that's stuff that isn't taught. It's not like, oh, you've got mental health issues. Okay,
They
we
treat
need
the
to check your.
symptom, not the person.
Yeah, we need to see, okay, what physical issues do you have? What can we do to, figure out what's going on there? What are the mental health issues? Could they be associated with something else?
And also, what's the
Like,
wider context? What context are you in? What are your financial pressures?
yes,
What are your
yes,
emotional and stress pressures at work? What is the
exactly.
family
What,
situation? What are you in grief? Are you going through
yeah,
something
yeah,
particularly difficult? Have you had to
your
deal with
level.
a lot of grief in a short period of time? Like, what's happening? You know?
Yeah, your level of knowledge of mental health. That's very important, because one of the most important parts of recovery from mental ill health is psychoeducation, like
Yeah,
psychoeducating yourself.
yeah.
um, and most people don't know that. And to be honest, I wasn't taught about anxiety in school. I wasn't taught about depression in school.
I don't think you
Like,
should be though, because that's the kind of worst constituency to sort of tell, isn't it? It's that sort of. I think the thing is, it should be looked for and identified. It should be watched out for. But I don't know about. It's that thing of like, if you tell people, will they generate it in themselves, sort of thing. I don't know.
true. You'll always have that kind of situation where some people will generate it in themselves, but most people will just really
Well, most
get to
people are
know.
denying it, aren't they? They're kind of like, no, that's not
Yeah,
me. It doesn't affect me.
yeah, and that's one of the issues with mental ill health is that I don't like I can handle this,
Yeah, I got
which was
this.
me at first, like, oh, I don't need to go to the doctor, blah blah blah. But then it escalates, and it's usually around your late 30s, early 40s that it escalates. And that's why a lot of suicides happen in those age groups, although it's getting a lot younger now, because of lack of understanding of mental health. And a big thing is also resilience and well-being. There's a big misunderstanding of those things, and a, a lack of people actually implementing those things as well. So, resilience, you can't have resilience unless you have done you do well-being practices that help you to cope when a bad situation happens. So, for instance, COVID. So, COVID showed us that most of the population are not resilient, because um, when COVID happened, a majority of people panicked and did not know what to do, did not know how to cope. Okay. And so mental health, really like skyrocketed after COVID as a result. Now, does that mean that people didn't have mental health issues before COVID? No, they most likely did have issues, or the start of issues before COVID, but COVID just escalated it and made it more present, basically. And then, their body was reacting. It was in fight, flight, freeze mode or fawn response mode. And so they dealt with, as best they could in that situation, coped. But then when COVID ended and the situation was relaxed and no more danger, then suddenly all the mental health, emotions, all of that sort of stuff started to come to, much more fruition. The amounts of panic attacks I dealt with as a trainer after COVID, where people were coming to courses and having to leave the courses because they couldn't be around a lot of people.
And
And
they're
I
like,
was
I don't
like,
know what's wrong with me. Like, I don't know what.
yeah,
This doesn't
yeah,
normally happen.
yeah, yeah. And again, it's that lack of understanding, because if they knew about anxiety and they knew the signs and symptoms of anxiety and why anxiety happens, they would then be able to have an understanding of, oh, okay, this is what's happening to me. and this is why I'm feeling like this. This is why my heart is racing. This is why I'm feeling cold. This is why I feel like I want to run. But it's okay because I'm in a safe environment and I'm not in danger. And so I need something to calm my nervous system down. So what well-being practice can I implement to do that? Now, if you don't have previously established well-being practices, then you're not going to be able to have anything there for you to be able to use. So well-being practices are things that you use to help regulate your nervous system and support good mental health and well-being, both physical and mental, in your day-to-day life. And these practices make you more resilient when something happens. So when something happens, your brain automatically goes into panic mode. Yeah, you go into that survival threat mode. And so it's your subconscious mind that is actually taking over. Your conscious mind has gone out the window. Logic has gone out the window. Okay. So your emotional brain is responding in that situation. And the thing that we need to understand about our emotional brain is that the emotional brain, the subconscious, has not evolved since caveman times. And they've actually scientifically proven this, that it has not evolved. Okay? It cannot evolve. So we need the conscious mind to influence the subconscious mind in order to have active impact on that situation. And we can't do that if we can't regulate our system and get that, give the logical brain the opportunity to step in and give its 2 cents, basically. So the way you do that is regulating your system, calming your nervous system down. And your well-being practices are the things that you use to do that. And they can only be implemented in that kind of situation if they are something that is a routine, it's a habit for you. So your brain can just kick in and automatically do those things because it's built into your subconscious mind. And so you do those well-being practices, and that helps to make you and support you through this difficult time. And so when you come out the other side, you are less impacted by that bad thing that happened to you. And so that's the sort of common misconception about well-being and resiliency. Like, people think resiliency is because of experiences that you've have had in your life. To extent, yes, because it does matter how you coped with those situations. And if you get into a situation in the future which is similar to that situation, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, so you're a bit more prepared. But that's not actually what resiliency is. Resiliency is having the ability to cope in the situation if it gets bad, and having tools available to you to do that.
Yeah, I think it's like a homeostasis question of like, resilience is your ability to maintain your integrity as the whole, which includes your immune system responses. Like, if your immune system is being constantly flared, essentially, then it's not doing what it should be doing. Like, it's warning you, but your situation, your behavior, like, let's ignore what the stimulus are, but what you're doing in making that system flare and flare and flare and flare is you're wearing it out. You're burning the system out. And it's what you need to do is, like, if that's the reaction, you need to control that reaction and slow it down and slow the pace of it down, and make it happen less, in a less exaggerated form of, like, it's calming and controlling and managing and looking after yourself, essentially. And it's the same thing, like, as you were speaking then, I'm thinking of, you think of a marathon runner. A marathon runner doesn't just run a marathon and then they're like, right, I'm back to work now. Your body needs replenishment. It needs to rest. It needs to, like, you immediately need to consume fluids. You immediately need to, even regulating the heat, the body temperature, because your natural, body temperature regulation is being impacted by the burning muscles and the pumping blood and all of these and the actual air and all these things. So it's that just why is the brain different? Why is your immune system thought as different to that of like it needs to be replenished, it needs to be looked after? You don't just hammer it and hammer it and hammer it again and it'll be fine. It's not like an old banger that you could just put to the floor all the time and wear out, because it's like you have to live in it, at all times.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we take that for granted. We live a lot in our heads, and we always want to rush, do things, get more, be faster, be liked on social media, all of these sort of things. But what we don't realize is the impact that it has on our physical body. And we need to, like you said, replenish the body like a marathon. How I used to describe the threat response to my students when I was training first aid courses, because we had to train on hyperventilation. So basically, when you are in a situation like COVID, for instance, your brain goes, oh, we're under attack by an invisible enemy. So we can't see this enemy. So everything is now going to be perceived as a threat. Yeah. Okay. We can't be around people, all of these sort of things. So then you start to get like really switched on. So when that happens, when your brain perceives that you have a threat, it then releases chemicals in your brain. Yeah. So cortisol hormones, things like that. Okay, adrenaline, all of that sort of stuff. That then changes the chemical composition of your brain, which then stops your conscious brain from functioning and your subconscious brain takes over. Okay, now remember, this is a millennia-old brain that is from like caveman times. So to it, everything is a threat. Everything. Okay, and so what happens is when that subconscious part of the brain comes into place, things happen in the body. So it sends a message down the nervous system, and it says, we're under threat, get ready to react. Now, you get different types of responses. You get fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and there's a fifth one as well, but I can't remember.
Faint.
I think faint is the last one, So there's 5 different responses that we have. So what happens is brain then sends a message to nervous system. Nervous system goes, oh, we need to get everybody into action. So nervous system then starts to shut down certain processes in the body. Okay, the digestive system gets shut down. So all unnecessary systems start to get shut down so that extra oxygen can be taken to the arms and the legs. So when we are under threat, loads of oxygen will be sent to our arms and our legs. Okay, the reason for this is because the subconscious brain is trying to figure out what it's going to do in this situation. Is it going to run? Is it going to freeze? Is it going to fight? What's it going to do? Okay, but in order for it to be able to react in any way possible, it needs the resources. So if we need to fight, we need to be strong. If we need to run, we need to be fast. And so putting extra oxygen into our arms and our legs makes us actually 3 times faster than usual and 3 times stronger than usual. And so when we are faster, when we are stronger, it's amazing. If I'm actually being attacked by something, then I can really run fast, 3 times faster than I would usually be able to run. And that means I'm more likely to survive. Okay, so it takes resources from inside of the body, not only just the digestive system, but it takes oxygen from the brain, it takes oxygen from the heart, the liver, all of the major organs. Skin, everything gives oxygen to the arms and the legs to ensure the survival of the whole being. Because if we don't survive, heart's dead, brain's dead, digestive system's dead. So, so they give it up, but it's only supposed to happen for a short period of time. Like not even 5 minutes or
Yeah.
a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so when this happens and we run away from the danger, we then burn all that excess oxygen in the arms and the legs. And that signals the subconscious brain that we are now safe. Danger is gone, we are safe, system can go back to normal. Yeah, so our nervous system reverts back to normal, and then brain sends a message up to the brain saying everything's okay, and then subconscious brain can go and do its normal job, and conscious brain kicks in, and we're able to have logical deduction and thought and all of that sort of stuff again, instead of just reacting emotionally. So it's like basically running a London marathon in 5 minutes, like you mentioned. Yeah. That's how much energy you're burning in that 5 minutes of having a hyperventilation attack. You're burning about the same amount of energy as somebody running a marathon. It's a lot of energy. Now imagine this happening on a constant basis throughout the day, just constantly happening. Imagine how much energy you are burning. Think about the impact that it has on the brain if the brain and the major organs and the digestive system are constantly losing oxygen that they need. The brain is constantly switched onto that danger mode because the body hasn't gone into rested mode, because the excess oxygen is not out of the body, because you've not run, you've not fought. Yeah, so that's why the most common response for people in an emergency situation is freeze response. So the brain freezes and goes, oh, I don't know what to do in this situation, so I'm just going to see what other people do.
But that, I think that is the societal change, that you're in a context where there is no saber-toothed tiger there. There might be a real threat to life and limb there, though, but you're trained of like, no, don't react to it, like it'll be fine. People will take care of this. You will be looked after. Don't don't attack them.
Yeah, exactly. And so because you're not getting rid of that that excess oxygen in your body, your subconscious brain is then constantly thinking that you're under threat and is constantly doing those processes. This is why we're having so many issues with digestive systems. If you look at the health of the population, you'll have seen it's the increase in heart conditions, increase in lung conditions. Alzheimer's has been linked to hyperventilation, digestive systems, so irritable bowel syndrome. Immunity deficiency. Currently, the statistics are 25% of the European population suffer from severe, so this is life-threatening, allergic reactions. 25% of the European population. Okay, they expect that to go up to 50% in the next few years. So all of these things are, hyperventilation contributes to all of these things. It's been scientifically proven that hyperventilation contributes to all of these things. And so this is why we're seeing this massive increase. And they've only figured this out in the last sort of 10 years about the connection between the brain and the body and the nervous system and how they impact one another and how the brain impacts the digestive system and all of these things. And so, in the last 10 years, they've only really established that we have certain bacteria within our gut. And if that is messed with, then that can have a negative impact on our brain and the rest of our bodily functions. And so it can cause mental health issues as well, that kind of stuff. So that's, the average person. Then you add on something like autism or ADHD, where we just normally burn more energy than the average person because our brain, our neurons in our brain are a lot more. So whereas the electrical system of a normal person is you'll have loads of neurons that grow, but then your brain will start to eliminate branches of those neurons for certain branches that it feels works better, and it says okay, you don't need these excess branches. But with the ADHD brain and the autistic brain, what happens is we don't get rid of those branches. Our brain keeps all those branches. And so we've got constantly like loads of hundreds of thousands of neurons firing in our brain at one time, whereas they've just got a branch of a few. And so this is what separates people with autism and ADHD from your average person, is not that autism is a disease. It's not a disease. It's just that their brain works differently, and it uses a lot more energy, and it perceives a lot more things. I can't drown out external noise. I hear it all the time. I can hear electric going through the walls, and it's not because I'm, psychic or anything like that. It's just literally because my brain can't sift through the noises that I should be. Yeah, it's like my volume's at the max.
Yeah.
And everybody else's volume is turned down, and they can adjust their volume as and when they want to, whereas I can't. My volume is full up to full blast, and I can't adjust it. And so I've got to then do other things to try and deal with that. So it's so important to understand how your body is interacting with the world, and how the world is interacting with your body, and understanding that. And so, like with the people that I support, I say to them, your brain is, when I told one of them about our brain and how our brain works, and they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, you burn a lot more energy than the average person by masking and doing those things that you need to do to try and pretend you're normal. And if you actually, did stuff for yourself, like came into this room, because we have like a special room, sensory deprivation room, and came and sat here for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes is 5 minutes you're not spending, all the energy of running a London Marathon trying to act normal. It's energy that you're preserving to keep your battery going, so that you're better able to deal with the rest of the day. And so when you explain that to people, they're like, oh. And
like how you go to sleep, okay, and then you feel better after you've rested and your body's done some restoration work.
Yes,
it's like that,
whereas,
but you stay awake.
Yes, exactly. It's literally what you're doing. You're basically doing like a mini sleep for your brain, so that you're better able to then deal with the rest of the day. And sleep is essential for sustaining life. We would die from lack of sleep before we die from lack of food or lack of drink. And that tells you how important sleep is. And also sleep is one of the things I really bashed into them, is about, how are you sleeping? What are you doing to make sure that you get the best type of sleep? Like, are you switching off all things that can stimulate you, that can stop your brain from wanting to go to sleep?
No.
Things like that.
Of course not. I'm putting them all on.
So I have a 2-hour routine that I do. That's my personal choice. I chose 2 hours because it works for me. That's the amount of time I need to calm my system down enough for me to actually get to sleep. Some people only need 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Okay, it varies from person to person, but that's how much I need. And so I have a whole sleep process that I go through. So at 8 o'clock, I will stop eating or drinking anything, because you cannot sleep properly. You cannot have deep sleep unless your body is got nothing in it. And deep sleep is essential. And also your liver cannot detox if you have anything in your body. And also your digestive system does a detox every night. It cleans all toxins from the digestive system every night, but it cannot do that if anything's in the digestive system. So that's why I stopped drinking or eating at 8 o'clock in the evening, so that when I sleep, my body can actually do those processes that it needs to be doing. I wear blue light glasses from 6 o'clock in the evening. I put blue light glasses over my normal glasses. Everything looks the same. It doesn't change the way things look, but I wear it because it blocks out blue light, because blue light stops you from your brain from releasing serotonin to help you sleep. I have my earphones on. I can sometimes play like really, like soothing music,
Mm-hmm.
just to sort of chill me out sometimes. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'll read a manga because I enjoy reading manga. But again, I'll have like the blue light filters and stuff on. I don't look at my phone. Um, I will be in my room in complete darkness, but with just one yellow light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will sit in that dark room with just that small little light on, doing whatever activity I'm doing, to chill myself out. And all that is basically I'm doing sensory deprivation
Mm-hmm.
so that my brain can then sort of calm down a little bit enough for it to release the chemicals that it needs to release in order for me to get to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I sleep with earplugs in, because I realized a while back that noises, because of my PTSD, slight noises were waking me up,
Yeah.
and putting me into threat response. So I wear earplugs now, but they're special earplugs that I don't hear noises except the fire alarm. So I'll hear the fire alarm, or if somebody's screaming, I'll hear
Yeah.
them, but all the other noises are blocked out.
Yeah.
So I can just sleep peacefully. I have a face mask as well that I wear, blackout curtains, all of that jazz.
Mm.
And so that's my sleep routine that I do. And ever since then, I have not had to take sleeping tablets.
Mm-hmm.
I sleep perfectly well, like I sleep really well, and that has helped me to be better able to cope with the next day.
Mm.
And I really recognize that that's the case when I have a couple of nights bad sleep. Like sometimes, even though you have all these processes in place, you can still have
Yeah.
some nights where it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And those are nights where I will, the next day, the next week, I will be struggling to cope during
Mm.
the day. And I will need to take sleeping tablets to help me sleep.
Mm.
Um, so, it's not like it completely goes away, but most of the time you can manage it,
Mm.
and it becomes a routine, and I just automatically do it. I don't
Yeah.
even really pay attention to what I'm doing anymore. It's just something that I automatically do.
Yeah.
It was very hard to begin with. I had to work really hard on building that routine,
Mm.
but after I built it, now I just do it. And
That's
yeah.
the thing with these things. So it's like I mean, it's so hard to get rid of bad habits, but it's so easy to form new habits in a lot of ways. So it's kind of like what you need to do is work on putting new habits in that push the other ones out that you don't like, kind of thing. Well, that's my
Yeah.
mental process with it. So we've got all of it. I've not asked you many questions for a bit. Don't worry, it's all fine. So we've kind of done how did we get into how did you get into it? We've kind of done some of your process, and you've given us a bit of a taste of what you would be talking about, as well as your own. I'll use the phrase that my guest yesterday was desperately trying to avoid at all costs and didn't journey. Um,
I love that. That's why I called it, recovering my balance, because it's a journey, right?
yeah,
It's not a destination, it's a journey.
yeah, but she was kind of
Yeah.
like, I'm trying not to use journey because everybody uses journey. um, so I'm gonna do a few quick fire questions.
Okay,
So
go for it.
I think we've kind of covered the COVID thing, unless you want to say anything
Mm.
particular about
No.
anything. Um, so I don't think that Brexit would have had a major impact on your work. I would imagine that you would already have had settled status or something by then, anyway, in terms of, or citizenship in terms of your immigration status and so on. So yeah, Brexit not really any effect.
No, I have British nationality, so no.
Yeah. Um, and climate change could be a factor in your work and how you're designing things and how you're delivering things, but I'm not. I'll let you answer
Yeah,
the question.
so it does and it doesn't. Climate change on its own and anxiety and stuff associated with that, and mental health and stuff that comes with that, is its whole own thing.
Hmm.
And so, I need to kind of focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And
what your
so,
specific role is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I can go all over the place and I can go into lots of different subcategories, but and climate change is definitely one of those subcategories. There's a lot of mental health stuff that happens there,
Mm,
and that would be a whole conversation in itself.
mm,
So I think we'll stick to what we're talking about now.
mm. And yeah, let's do a bit of social media.
Yeah, I've got my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a YouTube channel where I
Yeah.
talk about my recovery journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Recovering My Balance. And I have lots of little sort of videos about resiliency and stuff in there. And it's just talking about my journey, my experience of recovery, and the things that I implemented and learned along the way to hopefully make it easier for other people going through the recovery journey, to have sort of like a base of information that they can utilize. It is mostly focused on CPTSD because that's what I have, but these things can be implemented in all situations. It's not just relevant to CPTSD.
So the
Um,
process with that, was that about creating resources? Was it part of your own sort of exploration and discovery process, or a bit of both? Or was it just like, it'd be good to have some videos and post those? I mean, do you promote
um,
them a lot?
so that was about I want to be able to help others to know that they are not alone in their struggles
Mm-hmm.
on their recovery journey, and that there are things that they can do that are very easy to implement,
Mm-hmm.
which can make them more likely to have a full recovery. And that's ultimately what you want, right? Is people to have the best chance of recovering. And recovery journey is a difficult journey. It's not easy, and it is something that you need to maintain on a regular basis. But if you have the right tools, it's actually quite easy. A lot of the work is really easy to do, and it's free, so you don't have to pay for it. Um, and yeah, it's not stuff that you are taught in counseling. It's stuff that you have to learn yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done all the work, and I basically went, I was having a conversation with somebody, I can't remember who it was, and I was telling them about all the stuff I'd found out and researched and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like most people would not do this amount of research. Most people would not find out all that stuff. You really need to share this with others."
Mm-hmm.
And when I actually thought about it, I was like, "Oh, maybe other people wouldn't do that."
Mm-hmm.
And that person has a valid point. And so I was like, okay, well, even if there's only one person that sees this and it helps them out,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be worthwhile. And so, yeah. Um, and yeah, so I decided to do the videos on my YouTube channel. It's just a video channel. It's like kind of like a mini podcast
Mm-hmm.
almost. So yeah, I've got like shorts and long videos. So yeah, and it just talks about my journey. Um,
How
but
has
I've
that
taken a break.
played? Has it like, what sort of, have you had to promote it much? Has it just sort of naturally done fairly well? Is it, are you keeping the
Um,
numbers low?
so at first I paid for advertising and stuff like that, and I had to figure out like the how YouTube works, because there's
Yeah.
a specific way that you need to do YouTube in order to get people to view. I'm not really bothered about lots of people seeing or a few people seeing it.
Mm.
It's not about the numbers,
Yeah.
to be frank.
It's about it being useful, really.
Yes, it's about helping people.
Mm.
Like I said, if it only helps one person, which it definitely has, because I've got about 2,000 subscribers. If one of those people takes value from it, then it's done its purpose.
Mm.
And that's why I'm taking a break from it, is just because I'm now prioritizing other things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exploring other different avenues of different things that I want to try out, because I have to, because my ADHD brain does not get occupied for long. And it reached the point where my ADHD brain was like, I'm fed up with YouTube now.
Yeah.
And editing was a big issue for me. It takes me about a week to edit one video. So it's a lot of work that goes into it, and I just don't have the time to do that now. That might change if I can get somebody to edit for me and stuff like that, but it's not making any money.
Yeah.
So yeah, until it does, I'm not going to invest any money in it.
Yeah.
It's mainly just there for education anyway. It's not really there to make money. But yeah, so if anybody wants to have a look at the YouTube channel, it's called Recovering My Balance. And I think I linked it to you, if I'm correct.
Yes.
I think
Yes,
I
you
did. Yeah.
Yes, it'll be in the
Send
show
you the
notes.
link, so you can pop that wherever you want to. And yeah, I hope it's helpful, and I hope that people get something from it. If nothing else, just feel a little bit less alone in their struggles.
On the
Yeah.
posting front, are you much of a poster, or do you tend to?
Yeah, so I design digital posts myself, and I upload them a month in advance onto Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So that comes out every day, Monday to Friday. So that's still ongoing, because my brain loves being creative. So I don't think it will ever get fed up with that. Not anytime soon, anyway.
So it's not a chore. It's more of a, I've got this. You've organized it into a system, and you're like, this is the system, and this is how I like to do it, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's systematic, so my autistic brain is happy about that, and it's creative, which makes my ADHD brain happy. So both of them are really happy with that process. So it's
Yeah.
easy for me to interact with it. So yeah, so I do that, and yeah, those are all focused on well-being and awareness of mental health. So if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, again, it's Recovering My Balance. For Instagram, it's Recovering My Balance 1. For Facebook, it's just Recovering My Balance. And then for TikTok, it's Recovering My Balance as well. So yeah. What else? Yeah, so I do use a lot of social media. I am dipping my toe into other things with regards to social media, but I'd like to keep that separate from this for now, because it's very different. It's a very different avenue I'm going down,
Yeah.
the direction I'm going down in that, with that. So yeah, so lots of things in the works. Like I said, I train mental health courses. I do online workshops as well, which are all on my website. All that stuff's listed on my website.
Does
So
it
you
bring
can
the
go there
work
and have a
in?
look.
Are you getting work off the back of it? Do you know if you are or not, or is it just part of the whole
So it's
process?
just part of the whole thing. My business does not make money, because it's only recent that I started my business.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bring in a lot of money. It's like it doesn't pay the bills. So I do have a part-time job that I do, where I support autistic people, like I was speaking about it previously. And so just, helping and supporting them and teaching them coping strategies, and yeah, building their self-confidence, and enabling, supporting and enabling them to ask for help and support when they need it, and stuff like that. So that's, my part-time job, which pays the bills. But eventually I'd like to develop my business to be self-sufficient, that I won't have to do part-time work.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that is the case. I need to pay my bills. I need to pay for my accommodation and stuff. So yeah, so that's the current state of affairs.
So let's spend a little bit of time on. So I'm going to go into the kind of the business change question, and bearing in mind that you do own the business, but equally it's a fairly new business. So there might be a whole bunch of easy changes you can pick straight away here. Um, but if you could change any three things about your work, what would you change? Or have you already changed everything that you want to?
Um, I was thinking about this, and I don't know. I think that the way that my business is at the moment is what I'm happy with.
Hmm.
Like I like what I'm doing currently.
Mm.
Um, would I like it to make money? Yes, so that I can
Mm.
pay my bills and do that full time rather than just you know, 2 days a week.
Hmm.
Um, I am training to be a therapeutic coach, so that's a change that's coming.
Hmm.
So I graduate in October with that. So that will be released. So I'll be doing therapeutic coaching sessions from November onwards. I'm hoping to open those up. Um, and so that's a change that I want to make. Like I said, I'm exploring some other things and I'll see
Hmm.
how those go and whether they're going to become part of the overall arching business. I don't know, or whether they'll be a separate thing. I'd like to do something with regards to a focus on autism.
Hmm.
That's something that I would like to do because I think creating awareness about it, especially from a woman's perspective, is very important. But also somebody who is, has experience of mental ill health, has experience of autism,
Hmm.
but also has the education background, mental health background that I do.
And like you said, that's done the work. This is the thing. It's like that is you don't get to where you are without doing the work. And that's it's so often left out of the kind of the process. It's kind of, oh, I just I realized that I had these things and then I put these things in place, and it's like that's a whole period of time, a really long period of time, with lots of
Uh,
things happening in it and lots of realizations and like
yeah,
difficult things and failures and yeah.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
need support through that. You need people that have done it as well. That are kind of like you. I did it. You can do this. Like, come on, keep
yeah,
going. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the idea is that ultimately what I want to do is use the money that I make from the business and put it back into creating, you know, workshops and stuff like that for people who can't necessarily afford things,
Hmm.
so to be able to provide people with therapeutic coaching sessions for free if they come from a certain, economic background and they can't afford to pay for that themselves, and having sort of a, system where it gives back, because that's what I've always been about. I've always wanted to give back to my community, to people around me, and that's it's always been my focus. It's always been the one key thing I would never give up about myself is my my want to be kind to everyone. And yeah, so I'd love for my business to be able to make money so that I could then do more to help others.
Hmm.
And that's the aim, because I'm happy with what I've got. Like, I don't need any more than what I have. Like, I'm not doing this for to buy a bigger car or buy a bigger house or anything like that. That's not what my aim is. My aim is to create a business that can help others. And yeah, and I don't need for anything with regards to, just pay my basic bills. And then all the rest of the money will go back into the business and helping people. And that's the legacy I want to leave behind.
Mm.
Um, so, when I'm dead and gone and in the ground, hopefully from old age, then I hope that what I'm remembered for is, the people that I've helped and the business that I leave behind that just keeps helping people when I'm long gone. So that's the
So
idea.
I mean, that's a great point to edit out, but I'm going to continue on because I want to pick your brains about a few more things. And I know I'm running out of time, but
That's all right.
I'm
Go
gonna
for it.
go a little long. Um, so have you looked at funding opportunities yet? Is that something that you potentially pursue, or is that like you
Um,
want to stay away from?
so it's complicated
Mm,
because, with funding comes a lot of
regulation, responsibility,
yeah,
forms.
hoops that you need to
Yeah.
jump through, criteria that you need to achieve,
Hmm.
and that can sometimes negatively impact your ability to do what you want with your business.
Hmm.
And so that's something that I have been thinking about, but it's going to take me a long time to think about that. Like my artistic brain needs time to really process it, and the benefits and the downsides, and whether it's something that I will pursue or not, I don't know at this time.
I mean, are you ideally? I guess you would want to be in the position where, I mean, you're kind of working full time, but that depends on your, your levels of energy and how much how much you can turn up every day forever, sort of thing. Um, would the ideal be getting to a kind of point where it's like you're getting enough work and the jobs that you do are good enough, and you can sort of you have that full flexibility of I
Yes.
can work, but also you have the because there's a lot of within a market system of buying something, which is very much dictated on, time, place, price.
Mm-hmm.
And I pay for a thing, it turns up at a time, and you're
Mm-hmm.
working very much in an arena where it's like, but that's not always possible.
Mm.
So how does that kind of square? Is everyone prepared in advance of like the or do you always make sure you have to turn up at everything and you're always on time? Like how do you manage that part of it? Like if you've got a conflict of I'm not really feeling up to this, but a client's
Mm.
paid for something. I mean I don't know how much it's come up for you, but how are you sort of thinking of that at the moment?
So that's what I've been thinking about for the last few months
Mm,
is what if this, like does become an issue?
mm.
Because at the moment, because I'm working part-time and to pay my bills, I can dictate when I am putting time
Available for the
towards my
jobs. Yeah.
business. So I'm able to choose times and days where which suit me, and I know works out.
Mm,
Um, but the aim is to not work full time because I just am not capable of that with
mm,
all the stuff that I have going on. I've realized that working full time is not for me.
mm.
But I am very productive on certain days, and I can get like
Yeah.
3 days work done
Yeah.
in a couple of hours. Um, so it depends obviously on what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, so for instance, doing my videos, I can do enough recording for like 5 videos
Mm-hmm.
in a couple of hours, but it's the editing that takes a long time. So if I
Yeah.
could outsource the editing, that time would then be free for
Mm-hmm.
me to then just chill and relax
Mm-hmm.
and regulate my system rather than me having to work those hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about like, what do I need to hand to someone else to do? What am I going to do, keep doing myself, and just
Mm-hmm.
learning to delegate is very important. But also, the idea is that I won't be doing full-time work with this.
Mm-hmm.
It will be um, like sort of 3 days, 4 days a week
Mm-hmm.
is my aim. So that I have that recovery time, so that I'm then better capable of, you know, going to the next week. And the thing with me is that I don't let my autism dictate whether I work or not, in the sense of, um, like this last week, I really did not want to go. Like both my ADHD and my autism parts of me were like, no, we don't want to go. And so I had to force myself to go,
Yeah.
but I did it with the knowledge that I had this week off. So I know ways to work around that.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes have to aggressively work around it, but I do work around it. I would never let a customer down unless it was, unless I was in a full meltdown situation. I would never cancel last minute. Like, that's not who I am. I'm not that kind of person. Like, that's the good thing about my autism, is I need to do these things in advance. If I can't cancel it in advance with reasonable notice for the other person and reschedule it, then I don't cancel it. But sometimes that's to my detriment. So it's about learning the balance, and that's what I'm still learning at the moment, is where is that line, and what do I do if I push past that line, and things like that, and finding that balance. So I'm still busy trying to figure that out at the moment. But yeah, if I make an appointment with somebody, I will be there. That's just me.
And it's professionalism as well, isn't it? And like you say, if you can give people notice in advance and stuff, and just because that's part, like you say, part of your process, but also part of just being professional. So this is one that I ask a few times. I'm going to ask the UBI question before you go, because I think there'll be an interesting answer there from you. But I want to ask about, I wanted to go more into the sort of germination of this is why I've decided to go into business for myself. But I think we've kind of covered that. But doing it on your own, and it's not so much of I can see the thing of I want to do this, and the best way to do it is just get on with it. But having done it for a bit now, I'm thinking about, obviously your job is meeting people and so on, but is it lonely? Is it, would it have been better with a business partner? Would that have just made things more difficult? Or do you have because I've had points where the imaginary business partner is basically another one of me. If there was another one of me to do this, then it would be much easier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yes, it would be easier if I had more people helping me, and that's something that I have been thinking about. And I will be outsourcing things, but I can't do that until it's making money, basically. I have to be realistic about it. I can't spend money I don't have. So, so I will definitely be outsourcing thing and working with other people. Whether it's like a business partner, the problem with having a business partner is then you have to compromise what you want to do with that other person, and they might not, their what they want out of the business is not always going to coincide with what you want in the business. And there's always a risk that they might want to step out of the business and stuff like that. Whereas with me on my own, just running it, it's like I can make whatever decisions I want to make. And, if I do take on funding options and things like that, I'm going to be very clear with funders that I will always make the business decisions. And if they're not happy with that, then I don't want their funding, basically, is how I think of it. So I prefer doing it on my own. Is it lonely? Yes. In a way, the fact that I do my part-time job is very good for me, because it gets me out socializing with people. But these other things that I'm sort of branching into will get me to interact with other people as well.
Well, that's it.
And so far, it seems positive interactions. So, so there are other avenues I'm doing to combat the loneliness. But it is tricky, and I do struggle with loneliness, and it is hard. It is very, very hard running a business on your own. And that's why it's really about understanding how much, in the autism community, we talk about spoons. How many spoons do I have? And do I have enough spoons to do this? And maybe I need to do this tomorrow where I have more spoons. And so it's about understanding, like, okay, I'm now getting really stressed from doing my YouTube channel, or the work that's gone into that was really stressing me out. I've got over 100 videos on that channel, and I only started that in July. So I
Last
started
year?
the YouTube channel, yeah, in July, and I've got 100 videos on there.
That's a lot of work. And
So I,
and you've said how long it takes you to edit as well. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so I thought to myself, well, actually, I've got loads of videos on there.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I need to constantly create more videos? Why don't I
Yeah.
just leave it as it
Just
is?
reuse them, and then maybe if one
And
gets popular massively, you can refresh it. And
yeah,
yeah.
and I could do new videos at a later stage where I've got more spoons
Mm-hmm.
available to me. And so it's about understanding your limitations and where you need to be putting your energy.
Mm.
And if I had somebody helping me edit my YouTube channel, then I could put um, you know, the energy that I have into that because I
Yeah.
would have enough energy at that stage, but I don't.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding that and going, right, okay, so let's see how it goes on its
Mm.
own without me releasing new videos. And it's still sitting at the same number as it was when I stopped doing my videos.
Mm.
Like, that's not changed.
Mm.
And this is constantly people coming in and going out in subscriptions, but the number of subscriptions hasn't changed.
Mm.
There's been no difference. So yes, I could get more viewers, but am I doing it for viewers?
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
then you're just chasing numbers, aren't you? Chasing views,
Yeah,
and it
and
like,
then I'm burning myself out to
yeah,
get numbers.
for nothing, for number go
Yeah,
up. It's like, who
yeah.
cares?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not
So I was
important.
like, well, there's loads of content on there for people, loads of shorts, loads
Mm.
of long videos. There's, I think, 7 videos in my podcast series. They're all like between sort of 28 minutes up to 40 minutes long. So
Mm.
there's, and then I've got loads and loads, like hundreds of shorts that I've made of those episodes as well, if people just
Mm.
want to watch some snippets from them, if they don't want to watch the long video. So yeah, I've got loads of stuff on there, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to leave it for a while and see, if it's massively tanks, then fair enough, I'll keep working on it, but
Mm.
it hasn't. And I'm like, well, I can leave it for
Mm.
now, and I can concentrate on these other things, and then I can come back to it whenever I want to.
Yeah, I mean, if people are still finding stuff and watching it, and it's all part of that, long tail, and it hopefully it all eventually funnels them down to you, and there's some work that's of value to you to do. Um, so I'm going to ask this as the final question, UBI question. So if there was a universal basic income, and I assume you're familiar with the universal basic income, in fact, I would imagine that if you weren't, you probably went and read up on it.
I did, because I wasn't aware of it, so I did read up on it.
So, would it change anything for you work-wise? I mean, you're at an early stage of the business. Would it be helpful to have like an extra regular payment now? Would that help with, your planning of the business and so on? Or would it be more detrimental? Would it interfere in other ways?
I think in one way it would be good,
Mm.
because then I'd be able to pay my bills and focus, on my business
Hmm.
rather than
On
other
getting
people's
money and
businesses.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then at the same stage, I'm like, well, would I be as motivated in my
Mm.
business and, doing the stuff that I'm doing if I just got paid anyway?
Mm.
With my ADHD brain and autism brain going, well, you don't have to do, as much work because you're getting paid anyway. So, I don't think they would, because they love to be stimulated. So, it's how I've always been. I've always
Yeah.
wanted to do stuff.
And you'd be like, no, I'm freeing
So
up capacity to help more people. Help more people.
exactly, yeah, I wouldn't be able to rest, to be honest. Yeah, it's one of those things of, yes, there would be benefits, definitely, but there would also be um, negative aspect to that as well. And so I would need to do a lot more research on it and think about it a lot more, because it takes me a while to process things that are
Sorry
very
if I've given you
important.
more work to do.
No, no, it's all right. Like for instance, like my brother will tell me something, and he's a member of Mensa, so
Hmm.
he's like top 2% of the population intelligence. So usually when he tells me something, it's right. Although I don't like to admit it.
You've done it on a recording now. We'll cut that out.
No, I've told him, I'm like, I know you're right, but I'm not going to accept it right now. Takes my brain a couple of months, sometimes even years, to accept something that he has said as being valid, and me being willing to accept it, because my brain's had time to process it. So it does take me a long time sometimes to process things and think about things and how I feel about those things, because it needs, my autism brain requires that I weigh the positives and the negatives and do the research and find out everything I can possibly find out, and do, look at the research papers and find valid resources and, all of that jazz. Fun times, which takes a lot of time and energy. And I only have so many spoons, so I have to be very wise about how I use my energy resources. And so that is something that I will think about, and maybe one day decide what I think about it.
Okay, I not gonna do the typical offer of like say whatever you want at the end. I think we've used lots of space for that, and it's been great to listen to. But I also am kind of like, if you do feel shortchanged, or any of the listeners felt shortchanged, and we needed to do the questions and come back and do quick fire questions, we could have more Candice then. Like, would you be up for sort of coming back if it was like, let's do the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want me to come back, or your viewers want me to come back and have more chats, I'm more than happy to do so. And it's just about, obviously, please support me by just following, me, or subscribing. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. I don't expect people to make a financial contribution if they don't have the money for it. Please do not do that. But just sharing my videos, anything like that, just creating awareness out there would be brilliant. And just like show kindness to others. That's the most important thing. When people are struggling, the best thing that you can do for them is show them kindness. And it's because people showed me kindness that I'm alive today. So kindness really does matter, and I think it's the most important thing.
Thank you again to Candice for being my guest. Thanks as always to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. You can find Candice at her website, which is recoveringmybalance.co.uk, on Instagram, instagram.com/recoveringmybalance1, and her YouTube channel, youtube.com/@recoveringmybalance-tm7ZD. Links are in the show notes as usual. If you'd like to contact me about anything working hours related, such as funding the show or sponsoring it or paying for it or helping it out in some way, then you can email me about the show at workinghourspod@western-studios.com, at least until the end of this year. Please donate, honestly. You have no idea how much £3 would really cheer me up right now. I mean, obviously, a useful amount of money would be better, especially given the cut that all the online bollocks takes from everything that is donated. As with everything else, the only people actually making money are the people who don't work and the banks. But, just to feel like I can still have an effect on the world, if only fleetingly, would be super great. Thank you. Okay, that's me. Remember, listener, no matter what you do, it's impossible for you to understand anything. That your salary depends on you not understanding. So try to work for peace and try to plan with kindness. Raise your voice, but reduce your impact. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited, created and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Remember, Western Studios Leeds Limited when you're ready to start making your content in West Yorkshire. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook, facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds, and on LinkedIn linkedin.com/company/western-studios. Bookmark western-studios.com so you can see the latest prices and use my contact page to drop me a message about your own podcast project or working hours at any time from anywhere. Maybe you want or need a podcast host, co-host or narrator for your podcast project. Maybe you just need another voice for one or more episodes of your show. Podcasts are so much more than gossip, book promotions and marketing for online courses. Podcasts and other audio content get your online brand out there. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to have an audiobook or video course? Want to share your learning, knowledge and expertise in your field? Want to learn, teach or raise awareness of something general or particular? Want to improve internal comms with messages your staff might actually engage with? Or do you just want to brighten up the world with some entertaining content? Then make a podcast. If you're making your podcast within West Yorkshire, then think about making it with western-studios.com. Whatever your podcast questions or needs, get in touch with Western Studios, Leeds.